Hello guys, now we are at our third stream, the third giveaway. Thanks a lot for coming in and tuning in. If you are watching live or if you are watching offline, you still have a lot to gain. I think there are some good bits and pieces of information that I try to share with you. And also during these short streams, these 15-minute streams, I give you one code that you could use to have a 1 month pro subscription with 3 commas. And today, as I promised you yesterday, I want to look back at the bot that I introduced a while ago, over 2 years ago, the one that I called the Tiny DOGE, or it was a tiny long DOGE, because it was at the time trading on futures, so you could do it in a long direction and a short direction. I mainly did it in a long direction. So this was the video that had gotten me a bit closer with 3 commas and made me really actually enjoy some profits. There was some profits from that bot, and also kind of allow me to gain some confidence in my own skills and building strategies. And I think when you go into trading, which is a very, this is very competitive endeavor. I don't know how to call it, sport or industry, activity, profession. It's very competitive because in order for you to make money, somebody needs to lose money. So it's between you and another party to try to come up with a strategy, like in chess perhaps, where whatever you do will make you profitable. And like in a game of chess, you may be winning for a while and then you're feeling, okay, I got this, and then you make a few quite major mistakes and you lose it all. Or you proceed slowly, carefully, and in the end, you take it all. So with that mindset, if you are new or maybe have already some experience, with that mindset in mind, you need to think about being the best. Otherwise, you will just continue losing. And it's okay to lose for a while. This is how we learn. You cannot be good immediately. So it's totally fine when you come in and you have losses and learnings, and that's why you are being recommended to go slowly. For example, to trade smaller sizes, right? You can still do high leverage, but smaller sizes. And give yourself time to learn and to reflect. But you need to have an inspiration to be the best. And if you don't have that, it's very likely that you will not be successful in trading. So why am I sharing all of this with you? Because now we're talking about 3 commas, right, as a platform. Well, I think this platform will help you to be good and maybe the best in whatever strategy that you finally define for yourself. So we can talk a little bit today about some of my strategies. And specifically, I wanted to talk about this Tiny DOGE strategy, just to kind of bring it back and show it to you and give you something practical, especially if you're new. But one of the main messages I wanted to tell you is that if you're getting into this industry, you will need to work hard and you will need to set a goal for yourself to continuously improve. And again, you will probably find something very unique that you discover and that suits you. And in that way, you will be the best because it's going to be yours uniquely. And since you derived it, since you tuned it, thought it through, tested it, no one will have that type of advantage. Other people will have advantage doing something else, trading maybe a different pair, different strategy, different platform. But you'll have to come up with something of your own. So going back to this tiny DOGE bot, look, I've done these 4 videos and I explained them very well. So, or 5, I guess. Well, the fifth one was quite good as well, but that a specific backtester from Bot Nerds is no longer functioning. In fact, some of the tools that I referenced are already kind of not working anymore, but you can still find them somehow. So if you haven't seen that, I do recommend you going through that, starting with this one and then going to the backtesting. The backtesting one was really interesting because it's through that backtesting that I had basically derived some specific DCA settings that I'm about to show you, to remind you. So where is this? Let me go back to where I was backtesting this. And throughout these few years, I occasionally kind of remind people and come back to that Tiny DOGE bot. And kind of to say, well, it's still there. And what was really pleasing to me, somewhat recently, I will not go into much details, but just on a high level, what was really like a pleasant surprise, that there was one person who contacted me and said, I'm using this strategy and I'm managing quite a large capital visit and it's working for me. He did some additional tweaks. He is very conscious and focused on risk management and capital management. But that was his main go-to strategy for the last, I guess, year or year and a half. And he had grown the capital. So when I created this bot and I shared that, this was actually on futures, trading with leverage. And I did it specifically for Dogecoin because at that time, a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, there was an extreme hype about that coin with Ellen and everyone else, right? And now, fast forward 2 years, the strategy still works. But again, there are some adaptations that you're required to do. One, certainly you have to do a lot of risk management and money management if you're trading on futures. But if you don't want to bother that, if you kind of like want to have a good night's sleep, forget about the futures and you can do this on spot. You can run the strategy on spot. And now I'm going to show you. So I'll pause this play and go to my bots. And I will show you several tiny Doge bots. Let's keep calling them this way, that I am running on a spot account. So not on futures. And I'm running them on other coins. So they are no longer Tiny Doge. They are Tiny Link, they're Tiny Near, they're Tiny Atom, and so on. And so here we have these few bots that I have. Now I'm going to open, let's see, which is the most profitable. Near and Sol are most profitable. Now, Solana had an incredible recovery during the last year. So there was just almost vertical price movement. So I'm not sure if I would just choose this because it is just incredibly good price performance. But if you look at something like maybe Doge, which is always volatile, never really, completely bullish, or Nia or Atom, if you look at these, if I look at some of these bots, we'll see a continuous performance there. So if you're not familiar with these bots, watch my videos, and I can leave. I'll share one of the links in the video, so you can copy that as well, or you can adapt this because I'm running this on Bybit, so you can adapt this to your spot exchange. And I'm coming back to 3Commas now again as the platform where you want to run this. Some other platforms allow you to have kind of very similar or even identical DCA settings. I think 3Commas was really pioneering them. The naming conventions such as a safety step order scale, safety order volume scale, like these naming conventions, even the interface, what goes after. I'm pretty sure 3Commas was the first one to really create that one. And a lot of other platforms starting to use the same, which is kind of good, right? Because then you're getting used to that and you can port your bots. Now, moreover, I also see some native bots on some exchanges now. So if I go, for example, if I go to Pionex, if I go to what else, like OKX, for example, there are built or KuCoin, there are built-in bots. They're called martingale there, and you can almost identically, not really identically, but almost identically set up a strategy like this. So this is an ASAP strategy. So it's running non-stop. It opens the deal. It puts the safety order net below itself, and then it takes the profit. On futures, I was taking 0.35 as a profit. I had to increase it to a little bit on spot because fees are slightly higher on spot. And another downside of trading on spot is because you have a dust of a coin. So every time you trade on spot, you have small fractions of the coin. And to me, that's okay because this is another way for me to accumulate some of these coins that I trade. But it's a difference, right, in case you're used to trading future contracts. So you can take these settings now. You see I have very small size on Bybit, $2 order size. But what's specific about this particular strategy, this Tiny Doge, because it starts tiny, but then it grows almost exponentially in its order size. And it's actually, you see right here, the volume scale is 1.9. And it has a diminishing step scale. So instead of being 1 or above 1, like 1.1, 1.2, where it's growing its steps, it's actually shrinking. So it's really interesting, really aggressive, right? That's why I say, if you want, maybe you should do it on spot like I do. And if you look at these 6 safety orders, the first one is set at 2.7 from the initial base order, 2.7%, and then it shrinks, and there's almost very little difference between the 5th and the 6th ones. But based on the back tests, based on the performance that various people had done, and I've seen this from feedback, I've heard it from people on social media with whom I interact, and also I saw them in the marketplace. Recall how I showed you the presets here in 3Commas, let's call it marketplace, where we look at some of the oldest bots. Well, some of the oldest bots that I've been finding, they're running with these settings. So it's not crazily profitable. There are other strategies where you can have a higher ROI, but it's consistent. It's for most of the parts, unless we have some really major kind of almost manipulation of the prices, um, the profit curve is consistent and we take profit every day. And that's the elegance of that particular strategy. Now, before I spend too much time, as I tend to, let me give you the code. So those of you who are watching live, feel free to say hi in the chat. Get ready to write it down. And it may be that those who are watching live don't need the code. So if you're watching this as a recording, then grab it. Maybe it's still available. All right. So the code is this. And I'm also pasting this into the chat. So you can copy it and enjoy 1 month's pro subscription in 3 commas. And you can run this particular bot to get your confidence, to get you started, and to think through something maybe of your own, of something unique. One last thing I want to point out. Yesterday I was speaking about the community, saying, well, the community is really, really important because of the resources, because of their support. And I also today told you, well, these settings, this functionality is available on other platforms and also now it becomes available in Exchange. So why should you do 3 commas then? Well, because there is a lot of resources on 3 commas already that you can use to learn, to improve your understanding and to kind of be independent. Later, when you are independent, when you master, you can be more flexible and you can go anywhere you want. But for the beginners, I really think this is a good platform. So I'm not marketing it, just because I'm getting paid. Actually, I'm not getting paid for that. I'm just sharing with you my perspective. And with this, I thank you for watching. And I'll try to do a few more sessions before Christmas. It's a pleasure sharing with you. Thank you also for leaving your comments. And I hope you enjoy your holidays.